can see your nightmares and present them to your eyes. I can also show you your heart's deepest desires, or rip your throat out with my claws. And you think to toy with me. A collection of brightly coloured tents stood clustered together, creating an oasis of comfort amid the dread landscape of Avernus. Huge infernal war machines formed a horseshoe about the tents, with curtains made of small, rectangular iron plates, and lamps, dangling from chains, strung between them. Soft, lilting music and wondrous smells drift across the hot winds, inviting a closer look. A sign protruded from the gated entranceway, strangely understandable in all languages. All are welcome here. No fighting, no spellcasting, no exceptions. A neatly dressed merchant addressed a new customer within the Wandering Emporium. Ah, the sound of clinking soul coins. So much more melodious than gold, wouldn't you agree? That is why you are here, is it not? To find safe passage for your soul, or perhaps that debt you still owe. Traditional gold buys trinkets within the realms, you see, but souls, those purchase possibilities down here in the hells. I sat across from the tiefling as the crimson glow of Avernus simmered through the silks of my pavilion. She was one of Asmodeus's, though I suspect her favour with our mutual lord had waned. Her horns curved forward, a crown half melted, her eyes the colour of rubies over the crimson hue of Avernus's never-setting bloodshed. The heat of the first layer made mortals sweat. She, however, glistened as if born of it, or perhaps bestowed some devilish favour from Asmodeus. Between us lay the coin, polished, fueled by infernal iron, weighty, whispering faintly for release. I turned it to entice her, once, twice, watching the infernal script catch the red hue of fire streaking the sky, luring her into a false sense of security. A soul of distinction, I chuckled, my claws tapping the metal with affection. A priest of Lathander, was he not? The righteous always make such rich currency. Their despair ferments beautifully once contained only for the simple nature of a manipulated trade deal. The tiefling did not flinch, though her tail flicked once behind her. I was told you would offer fair trade, Mahadi. My dear, I am always fair. But my fairness is often a two-way negotiation. What will you offer me? Child of the Ninth Lord. You seek passage, protection, and provision across Avernus, toward Tiamat's temple no less, a difficult destination, even for those with the proper faith, or backing in your case. Her hand clenched around the handle of her satchel, where a second coin likely hid. They always bring more than they admit. Trust is a resource too precious for the hells. I leaned forward, my tone softening. You know, your kind, tieflings, often remind me of my own. We Rakshasa too are outsiders, forced to face the nightmares many of you on the material world deem too reprehensible to study. For where would your knowledge of the threats to living existence stretch from? It is from my kind. We are not born of hell, yet we thrive within it. The tiefling's gaze met mine, curiosity beginning to fracture her caution. That was always the opening within the negotiation. Before there were emporiums, before I served the Lord of the Ninth, my people walked the worlds of mortals. We were kings and viziers, poets and tormentors. Some ill-informed sages state that in their innumerable documents within planar temples, and in those that material scribes tabulate, that we were merely ancestors from the Arcanoloths. A pathetic statement, just as in your tiefling heritage, you are more than what your lineage has allowed. Give me something of worth to continue. I let the coin spin upon the table, a faint wail rising from it. Her voice trembled, though she tried to mask it with a misplaced poise. You think you can buy everything with your stories? Oh no, I said, reaching to still the coin with a gentle touch. Stories are the interest one pays before the real price is due. I gestured toward the curtains. Elizabeth, my Erinyes, appeared soundlessly just outside my tent, her wings folded and her eyes alight with silent understanding. She knew what it meant when I was in a negotiation. She set down a black glass, a vintage ichor from the river Styx itself. "Drink, traveller," I offered. "You'll need your wits where you're going." The devout of Tiamat guard their mistress's hoard, as if every gem were their heart. Few returned from her temple unburned. The tiefling hesitated, then produced another coin. This one was older, its edges worn, its whispers quieter, more resigned. She placed it beside the first. "A friend," she said softly. "I'll need your mercy, if not your favor. How will I find you when I am done?" I slid the coins into my sleeve, their screams fading into the fold of my robes. The Emporium's lights flickered against the red sky, and the infernal war machines rumbled as if sensing the bargain's completion. One final clause, Section 10, line 14. The subject will provide one more soul coin in the event of payment complete, and if the guide to the temple is fulfilled. Just one more to my tally, I hope you can understand. The Lord of the Ninth does have his quotas. I lifted my glass to her and smiled, all graciousness and charm. "To your journey, we will find you when your task is complete," I said. "May the Dragon Queen find your devotion palatable." And as she drank, I let my gaze linger, not on her, but on the soul coins hidden within my sleeve. Each one a whispering advisor, each one another tale to tell. Considered by some the very embodiment of evil, Rakshasas dominate all they encounter as masterful manipulators, powerful sorcerers, and terrible foes. Greedy, treacherous, immortal beings, Rakshasas delight in plotting the downfall of others while raising their own status. In addition to their own abilities, Rakshasas are charismatic individuals who draw large numbers of minions into their service, surrounding themselves with cadres of deadly and varied servitors. Clever and deceitful by nature, Rakshasas are the bane of righteous creatures, as they prefer hiding in the shadows and using layers of lies, corruption, and double crosses to keep themselves safe. A cloud of uncertainty conceals the Rakshasas' origins. Numerous tales and legends say that they came from a distant land, slowly corrupting the societies they encountered before moving on to richer grounds. Rakshasas possess all the earmarks of having the same lineage as devils, although they dwell primarily on the material plane. Even if they are aware of their past, no Rakshasa willingly parts with such information, and they often spin intricate webs of lies to further confuse the issue. The most popular theories include a race of fiendish animals somewhere in the Rakshasas' distant past, intermingled with some unknown breed of devils. However, even this possibility seems unlikely considering Rakshasas' uniquely insidious natures. There exist countless documented cases of the Rakshasas' sinister impact upon the world, even if some only suggest the fiend's claws manipulate major political players. Although vain and egotistical, Rakshasas favor staying behind the scenes, pulling political strings with aplomb. They are linked to the toppling of united organizations, merchant houses, churches, and even entire governments. Scholars who go through the effort of untangling the skeins of history discover Rakshasas lurking behind some of the most deplorable crimes and tragedies imaginable. A Rakshasa possesses the same size and build as an average human, but with the head of some savage animal, most commonly that of a Bengal tiger, although those of carnivorous apes, mantises, and crocodiles are only slightly less common. Rakshasas' eyes vary vastly, from the gold and black slits of tigers to the multifaceted, protruding orbs of insects, depending on the individual's specific animalistic visage. Regardless of their shape, Rakshasas' eyes burn with a slight infernal light, filled with a deep cunning and intellect that most mortals find extremely disturbing. A Rakshasa's hands is easily its most unnerving feature. The joints on both hands are reversed, causing the creature to bend its fingers to grasp objects in the opposite direction, to how most humanoid hands grasp. The Rakshasa suffers no difficulty doing this, and grips things in the same way as other humanoids, although it enjoys horrifying others with this unnatural feature. Greedier than most devils, Rakshasas insatiably desire wealth and power. However, more than just taking what they can, Rakshasas prefer stealing and looting from those who would suffer most from such actions: the destitute, the desperate, and those who rely on specific items. Rakshasas take great pride in ruining the lives of mortals, stealing everything from them, killing their families, and spreading horrible lies and rumors. When a Rakshasa first enters a territory, it does its best to maintain a low profile, seeking out weak-willed individuals that it uses as pawns and lackeys. It finds a base to host its insidious dealings, often fronted by an innocuous business, or even a temple to some neutral deity. Over time, however, the Rakshasa tightens the reins on both his victims and his lackeys, demanding larger and larger portions of their freedom, wealth, and power. Rakshasa society could be described as a malevolent meritocracy, where only the fittest survive. Rakshasas constantly rank each other based on the power they accumulate, their cunning and subtlety, and their willingness to show a complete lack of morals. Female Rakshasas raise their young alone, punctuating their children's lives with doting praise, constant tests, harsh discipline, and ruthless training. As a young Rakshasa matures, it learns the meanings of both loss and power. That which is gained might easily be taken away, often by those who gave it in the first place. Once a Rakshasa reaches maturity, it's already well on its way to carrying out an empire of crime and evil. Newly independent Rakshasas commonly head out for unknown territories, far from its parents or any other Rakshasas' reach. Using a variety of disguises, the Rakshasa spends years investigating a new area. A Rakshasa instinctively seeks out a safe house from which to operate, decorating its interior in ostentatious displays of its wealth. It then begins creating a network of spies, informants, and easily bribed officials from which to establish its domain, as well as creating a small cadre of loyal, easily influenced lackeys. The Rakshasa then creates or takes over local thieves' guilds, mercenary units, and other undesirables, often doing so under one disguise or another. It rarely reveals its true nature to anyone but utterly dedicated lieutenants, whose loyalty the Rakshasa constantly monitors both via spies and its own ability to read thoughts. Should a Rakshasa encounter another of its kind, a shadowy war of intrigue and misinformation often begins. This battle of criminal politics culminates in one Rakshasa dominating the other and subjugating its network, or in the death of the weaker rival. As a Rakshasa grows in power and dominates more and more of its kin, it takes on more and more prestigious titles, rising to Ruk, Raja, and all the way to Maharaja, after subjugating all other Rakshasas in a region. Notoriously cruel slavers, Rakshasas collect slaves with the same relish they do exotic and rare art. A Rakshasa surrounds itself with dozens of slaves who cater to its every whim. This serves to stroke the Rakshasa's enormous ego, as well as to show a level of status among others of its kind. The more slaves at its beck and call, the more powerful the Rakshasa. Using its detect thoughts ability, as well as information provided by spies and informants, a Rakshasa searches out every weakness, sin, and secret about its enemies as possible. It then uses bribes and offers of power to attempt to bring its target into its web. If this fails, the Rakshasa extorts, blackmails, or slanders its target to bring about his destruction. It loves nothing more than to see an otherwise good and upstanding citizen brought down by others of its kind, due to some dark secret. Rakshasas are natural spellcasters, with a deep lust for the acquisition of arcane lore and magic items. They spend a great deal of time researching lost tomes and following up bits of rumors and legend to find powerful spells, especially those of an evil nature. Rakshasas sometimes sponsor adventuring groups to delve into forgotten tombs and forbidding lands in the quest for such items, often portraying themselves as kindly patrons of arcane organizations or ambitious merchants. Despite their bestial features, Rakshasas are clever, malicious, and sophisticated. Although Rakshasas come in many varieties, they all share some common traits, namely their feline heads, backward claws, and taste for luxury. They often conceal their true appearance, using illusion magic to adopt whatever disguises serve them best, with them typically masquerading as nobles or wealthy merchants, lying and manipulating other creatures into doing their bidding. The fiend most often prefers to mislead would-be adversaries instead of fighting them, but if combat becomes necessary, they are fierce and ruthless. According to some legends, Rakshasas were spawned by demons that fled the abyss and came to the natural world long ago. Many Rakshasas discount these legends, proudly asserting that their species could never have such degenerate origins, yet their cruelty often suggests a demonic heritage. Mahadi's golden eyes gleamed as the tiefling's cup emptied. The air in the pavilion thickened with the scent of spice and brimstone, the velvet walls rippling faintly as if the Emporium itself listened. He swirled his glass and spoke again, his tone a silken thread drawing her deeper. "Let me hit you with one more fanciful expression of my kind, just for your pleasure. Ah, but perhaps you think my people identical in our polished majesty. Dearest child of Asmodeus, you have so much to learn. Hush and listen. Many think each of us the same striped illusion in tailored robes. No, no. The lords below, or if you know far-off lands the lords of dust, are not so unimaginative in their cruelties." He leaned back, one hand resting on the arm of his chair, the other idly tracing the stem of the glass. "There are many of us, child of Asmodeus. The Natians stalk the dreams of warriors. They are lithe, pale creatures, whose claws tear the courage from mortal hearts and rise. Their red stripes are unique. Yes, but it is their shape changing that is superfluous in my opinion. They feed upon fear, drinking it as one might a fine cordial. Have you tried this vintage? If not, I'll pour you a glass after this tale." He smiled faintly, though his fangs caught the light. "And then there are the Rakshasa, pale-furred, death-voiced, for they love the realms of the dead, the hinge between life and death. Those necromancers bear no interest in illusions or finery. They deal in whispers from the grave, calling the dead to serve them in any vile experimentation they have conjured." The tiefling shuddered, despite the heat. Mahadi's gaze then softened, or at least appeared to. "We are a menagerie of damnation, my dear. Each of us a mirror of the mortal vice, reflected in divine or devilish punishment. Some whisper that Asmodeus himself learned the art of deception from our kind." He sipped, slowly. "I do not deny it." For a moment the lamps dimmed, the illusion of civility flickering at the edges. His fur seemed darker, his voice layered with something older, something that had watched empires and planar realms die, and curiously perhaps from unforeseen knowledge. "Remember this, traveller, every Rakshasa wears a face of their own choosing. Now," he said lightly, "shall we discuss the route to Tiamat's temple, the traps or perils you may face, or would you rather hear of the one Rakshasa who dared to deceive even the hells themselves? And just a side note, you would have to pay up front if you wish for those hidden ashes of wisdom, for I have them in abundance, but they are not cheap." Rakshasa are most often described as a tall, emaciated figure with the head of a white tiger, its body cloaked in fine robes, Its clawed hands in many a tale have been seen ready to dip into the numerous spell component pouches at its waist at a moment's notice. I wouldn't test this. Akachasa Rakshasas wander the plains seeking new lands to subjugate and new undead minions to enslave. These Rakshasas are masters of necromantic magic, although they are powerful in the other schools of magic as well. Akachasa Rakshasas typically work behind the scenes, manipulating events to suit their dark whims and relying on their web of spies, assassins, and intelligent undead to carry out their nefarious plots. An Akachasa Rakshasa looks like a humanoid with the head of a white tiger. A light coating of ghostly white fur coats the creature's body from the shoulders down, and its hands display razor-sharp nails like a cat's claws. The palms of its hands are where the backs of the hands would be on a human. An Akachasa Rakshasa stands around 6 feet tall and weighs about 175 pounds. They do associate with other Rakshasas, often as leaders or manipulators. Other types of their kind value their intelligence even as they fear its abilities. It is not uncommon for weaker Rakshasas to follow their complex plans even as they go about their own missions. All Rakshasas tend toward solitary existences, but communication and coordination between the various kinds is not unheard of. The fiend typically establishes a power base at the site of a great battle, a large cemetery, or some other place where a large number of corpses might be interred. It uses its power over undead to create intelligent undead minions. Thereafter, it might make contact with a local underworld organization, almost always through intermediaries, or even a corrupt or power-hungry political official. It will play with these leaders, offering them advice, power, or riches as it learns their habits and defining characteristics. Then the Akachasa uses a form of magic, akin to a magic jar, to replace one of these leaders for a time, using the borrowed body to solidify its hold on the region. The Naztharun, a variant of Rakshasa, is garbed in dark clothing. Its body seems mostly human, except for a luxurious coat of black fur and its black, tiger-like head. While some theorize that Rakshasas are the very embodiment of evil, those rare few who have survived an encounter with the deadly Naztharun know it as fact. Like other Rakshasas, the palms of a Naztharun Rakshasa's hands are where the backs of the hands would be on a human. While this physical feature doesn't detract from the creature's manual dexterity, it makes a Rakshasa look very disturbing to those unfamiliar with the creature. Naztharun Rakshasas, like most Rakshasas, tend to be solitary creatures, but will work with other Rakshasas when necessary and even team up with other Naztharuns on a continuing basis. They sometimes work as infiltrators and spies for Akachasa Rakshasas, and they sometimes hire themselves out to other creatures as mercenaries or assassins. Naztharun Rakshasas have a hearty contempt for all creatures except other Rakshasas, but they can suppress this feeling when it profits them to do so. Unlike most of their Rakshasa brethren, Naztharun Rakshasas feel less of a need to be the boss in every operation. They are much more mercenary in their desires and needs. As the tiefling departed, her cloak vanishing into the shimmer of the Emporium's torchlight, Mahadi remained seated, savouring the last taste of his infernal wine. The bustling of the market pulsed through the silk walls, chain devils crying out in tongues both mortal and damned, merchants whispering desperate bargains to power-hungry mortals and plainer beings. Outside his tent, Elizabeth waited with a ledger pressed to her chest. "Another sale, my lord. Did it proceed as you most certainly expected?" Mahadi's smile returned. Warm, unthreatening, and perfect. "Another soul properly employed, my dear. She is heading to Tiamat's temple. One more soul coin ready for our collection. The Dragon Queen has since departed. I assume the collection of this future soul coin will most certainly be her own. Perfect." He gestured gracefully. The lamps dimmed to a hush. The Emporium's heart beat on, filled with laughter, music, and quiet servitude, all bound beneath Mahadi's charm in service to Lord of the Ninth. I can see your nightmares and present them to your eyes. I can also show you your heart's deepest desires or rip your throat out with my claws. And you think to toy with me